I never thought a piece of paper could ruin my week. But there it was. Sitting on my kitchen counter, a $750 bill, due in 3 days. My name was printed neatly across the top. Anna Reynolds. The problem was, it wasn't my debt, it was my sister's. I'm 34 years old, a nurse. I work night shifts at the county hospital in our quiet corner of suburban Ohio. My apartment is small, 1 bedroom, pale yellow walls, plants on every windowsill. The kind of place that smells faintly of lavender and instant coffee. I don't have much. But what I have, I earned. My sister Mara was the opposite. 2 years younger, endlessly charming, reckless. If I was the planner, she was the dreamer. Growing up, everyone loved her. Her laughter filled every room. Mine filled the silence after she left. The envelope came on a Wednesday morning. I was half asleep, still in scrubs, sipping lukewarm coffee. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Some random clerical mix-up. Then I saw her name, faintly scribbled in the reference section at the bottom, M. Reynolds, guarantor transfer. My heart dropped. She'd transferred her hospital debt. To me? I remember the night she called. 3 months ago. She'd been crying. Said she had a minor car accident, broke her wrist, went to the ER. No insurance, no savings. Anna, please, she'd begged. Just help me once. I'll pay you back next month. I sighed, like I always did. She sounded desperate. And she was my sister, so I signed something. She sent it over email, said it was just a consent form for the hospital. I didn't read the fine print. That was my first mistake. When the final bill arrived, I stared at it for a long time. $5,750. That was 2 months of rent. 3 if I stretched. I could feel my pulse in my throat. I texted her immediately. Me. Mara, I just got a bill from St. Luke's, in my name. What did you do? Mara. Oh, yeah, about that. I thought they'd told you. Me. Told me what? That you dumped your debt on me? Mara, Anna, relax. You're overreacting. I had to transfer it or they were going to collections. Me. You used my name without asking. Mara. We're family. It's not a big deal. I stared at that message for a long time. My coffee went cold. Not a big deal. That's what she always said before burning something down and handing me the ashes. Our mother used to say, Mara's the sunshine, Anna's the storm. But she never noticed who cleaned up after the sunshine left. Growing up, Mara would borrow things. My clothes, my makeup, my money. I'd find my favorite sweater at her friend's house, lipstick smeared on the collar. She'd laugh. Relax, Anna. You act like it's the end of the world. Maybe it wasn't then, but it felt like it now. I drove to her apartment that afternoon. She lived in one of those new complexes. Faux brick, luxury gym, rent way too high for her job. She was sitting on the balcony drinking iced coffee, scrolling through her phone. Hey, sis, she said, smiling like nothing was wrong. I handed her the bill. Her smile didn't even twitch. Oh, yeah, she said casually. That came faster than I thought. You think this is funny? I asked. She shrugged. You make more money than me, Anna. You'll be fine. That sentence. Those words. You'll be fine. It was like she stabbed me, then patted the wound. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I stood there, jaw clenched, feeling something colder than anger. Something I hadn't felt in years. Betrayal. I can't believe you do this, I said, my voice shaking. Mara rolled her eyes. Oh, don't start. You've always acted like you're better than me. Maybe now you'll actually help for once. I turned to leave. She didn't stop me. Behind me, her voice floated out, light, careless. Thanks, sis. I owe you one. Yeah, you owe me one. The next few days were a blur. Work, bills, sleepless nights. The hospital wanted payment in full. They didn't care about my family drama, so I paid it. Every last cent, because I couldn't stand the idea of collectors calling me, or it ruining my credit, or my life getting dragged down with hers. I paid it, thinking it would be the end. But it wasn't. After I paid, I thought maybe she'd at least say thank you. Maybe she'd understand the sacrifice. Instead, a week later, she posted on Instagram a photo, she and her boyfriend at a lake resort, Champagne, caption, "Finally debt-free. Fresh start," whispers, "debt-free." I sat in my car during my lunch break, staring at that post. My throat burned. I wanted to text her, to call her, to scream. But I didn't. I just watched. And something inside me changed. The guilt I always carried. The guilt of being the responsible one, the fixer, the sister who does the right thing. It cracked. Underneath it was something sharper, a quiet promise. People think revenge starts with rage. It doesn't. It starts with silence. The moment you stop defending someone who keeps cutting you open, the moment you realize they're not sorry. That was the moment for me. I paid the $5,150 bill my sister dumped on me, and for a while I believed that was the end. Turns out, it was only the beginning. It's strange how betrayal doesn't explode. It leaks, slowly, quietly, like a drip from a faucet that never stops. After I paid the bill, I told myself to move on, to let it go. But everywhere I turned, there she was, Mara, smiling in photos, tagging me in posts, acting like nothing had happened. I wasn't angry anymore. Not exactly. I was hollow. Like someone had taken all the noise in my head and replaced it with static. At work, the days blurred. 12-hour shifts. Patients crying. Machines beeping. You learn to hold people's pain without breaking under it. But I was breaking, just in a different way. Sometimes between rounds, I'd check my phone. Another post. Another story. Her new handbag. Her night out. Her self-care Sunday. Self-care. It felt like every click of her camera was a reminder that my sacrifice meant nothing. I told no one. Not even Mom. Mom always said, family's everything. Anna, no matter what. But family, I was learning, can be a weapon too. She always took Mara's side, not because she was blind, but because she was tired. Tired of the fights. Tired of choosing. So I stopped talking, stopped explaining. A few weeks later, I got a text from Mara. Mara, hey, need a favor? Me, what now? Mara, can I crash at your place for a bit? My landlord's being a jerk. Me, you just signed a lease, Mara. Mara, yeah, well, things change. You always have room for me, right? That was the moment I realized she didn't feel guilt. She felt entitled, and I was the fool who kept saying yes. When she showed up at my door, she had 2 suitcases and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She hugged me like nothing had happened. And for a moment, I wanted to believe it. Maybe this time would be different. But then I saw the shoes. Designer. The nails, fresh. The phone, brand new. Thought you said your landlord was the problem? I asked. She waved a hand. It's complicated. He's just being dramatic. Anyway, she dropped her bags with a thud. God, I'm starving. What's for dinner? That was Mara in a single sentence. Chaos wrapped in charm. The first few days were civil. She'd sleep in, drink my coffee, leave her dishes in the sink. I'd bite my tongue and tell myself, she's family, but slowly. The cracks began to show. It started with the little things. Her borrowing my car just for an hour. Her using my credit card by accident. She called me uptight when I asked her to clean up. She turned my home into a storm I couldn't escape. One night, I came home from the hospital at 2 a.m. The living room lights were still on. Music played from her phone. Loud, careless laughter from the balcony. I peeked outside. She wasn't alone. A man I didn't know leaned back in my chair, smoking. Mara was in his lap, whispering something in his ear. I stood there, invisible, until she noticed me. "Oh, hey," she said, laughing. "Didn't think you'd be home this early." "Who's this?" I asked quietly. She rolled her eyes. "Relax, Anna. He's just a friend." "Not in my apartment," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She crossed her arms. "Wow, you really know how to kill a vibe." That night I didn't sleep. I sat in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd become this. A side character in my own life, cleaning up someone else's messes. The next morning she was gone, no note. Just empty coffee cups and perfume in the air, but on the counter I found something else. My wallet. Open, and my debit card is missing. I froze. Every nerve in my body went still. I called the bank immediately. The woman on the line was polite, calm, and efficient. "Yes, Ms. Reynolds, I see 2 recent transactions. One for $347.90 at a spa and another for $212.50 at a boutique." I didn't even need to ask. I knew exactly who it was. When she came back later that night, I was waiting. She breezed in, humming, bags in her hands. "Enjoy your shopping spree?" I asked. She blinked. "Excuse me?" "You used my card, Mara." Her lips twitched. "Oh, come on. I'll pay you back." "With what?" I asked. "You don't even have a job." Her smile vanished. "You think you're so perfect, don't you?" She hissed. "Always judging me." "I'm tired of cleaning up after you," I said, voice trembling. "I paid your bill. I let you stay here." "And you— Oh, here we go," she interrupted. The martyr speech. "You love playing the victim, Anna." The words hit harder than I expected, because a small, cruel part of me wondered. Was I? She packed her things that night, slamming drawers, breaking a picture frame. Before she left, she turned to me. "Don't worry," she said coldly. "You'll miss me when I'm gone." She was wrong. What I missed was peace. Days passed. Then weeks. I didn't hear from her. The silence felt like oxygen, but silence has a way of hiding things. Because one afternoon, while paying bills, I noticed another envelope. A collection notice in her name. At my address, my hands shook as I opened it. Unpaid rent. A broken lease. On $200 owed. And somehow she had listed my address, my phone number, as her emergency contact. I felt my stomach twist. She hadn't just used me. She'd set me up to be her safety net. Again. That night, I called Mom. "Mom, she's done it again," I said, voice breaking. She used my info. "I'm getting her bills now." There was a pause. Then Mom sighed. "Anna, she's your sister. She's just struggling." "Struggling?" I snapped. "She's stealing from me." "Don't talk like that," Mom said sharply. "She's family. You need to forgive her." Forgive her. That word felt heavy, like a lock around my throat. After that call, I realized something. No one was coming to save me from her. Not Mom. Not anyone. If I wanted peace, I'd have to take it. And the thought scared me. Because for the first time, it wasn't guilt I felt. It was a focus. I started paying attention to the people she followed online, to the businesses she tagged, to the whispers that floated around mutual friends. And slowly, a pattern emerged. Mara had been lying to everyone, not just me. She'd scammed her ex out of a loan. Borrowed money from coworkers she never repaid. Even used fake receipts to claim refunds at a store she used to work for. The image she built, the girl starting fresh, the free spirit, the comeback queen, it was all smoke, and I realized people like Mara don't change until they're forced to. So I began documenting everything, every text, every receipt, every transfer, not out of spite, but out of survival. It started as protection. But the more I saw, the more something inside me hardened. I wasn't angry anymore. I was preparing. A month later, I saw her again at a mutual friend's birthday dinner. She walked in late, dressed like money. Everyone cheered, and she hugged me like nothing ever happened. But when her eyes met mine, I saw it, the flicker of fear. she knew. Somewhere deep down, she knew I wasn't the same. And she was right. Because by then, I'd already decided. This time, she wouldn't walk away clean. Not from me. There's a kind of silence that isn't peace. It's the quiet before something breaks. That's what my life felt like after Mara left. Calm on the surface, but underneath, something was shifting. I started noticing things I'd ignored before. The way people's expressions changed when her name came up. The half-laughs. The "oh, you didn't hear?" looks. I'd spent years defending her, explaining her, smoothing the messes she left behind. But now, I listened, and what I heard made my stomach twist. A nurse from work, Clara, told me she'd lent Mara money. Just $200, she said. She said it was for gas to visit her mom. She never paid it back. A neighbor, Mrs. Green, mentioned seeing Mara borrow tools from her husband for a quick project. They vanished. And then there was the text I got from Mara's ex, Kyle. Kyle, hey, I don't know what's going on with your sister, but she's been using my name for credit checks. Thought you should know. I stared at that message for a long time. My sister wasn't just reckless. She was dangerous. It's strange how betrayal starts to lose its sting after a while. You go numb, but numb doesn't mean gone. It's like a wound under a scar. It looks healed, but it throbs when you touch it. And every story I heard, every new lie that surfaced, pressed harder until finally I snapped. One night, after a double shift, I sat on my kitchen floor with my laptop. The glow of the screen painted my face blue. I opened a new folder and titled it Mara Truth. Inside, I started dropping everything: screenshots, receipts, messages, dates, numbers, names. I wasn't sure what I was building, a wall, a case, or a way out. But it felt right. For once, I wasn't cleaning up her mess. I was watching her bury herself in it. Weeks passed. The file grew, and one night, while scrolling through her social media, I saw something that stopped me cold. A story, posted 2 hours earlier. A car. Brand new. A caption, "Finally got my dream wheels. Hard work pays off." My jaw tightened. Hard work. I zoomed in on the photo. Behind her hand on the steering wheel, I saw it. A dealership tag. Reynolds Auto Finance. My last name. My pulse raced. That was Dad's old friend's dealership, a small local place that sometimes offered family plans to trusted clients. Dad must have co-signed something years ago, or left a contact open, and Mara, being Mara, must have found a way in. I felt heat flood my chest. It wasn't enough that she'd used me. Now she was dragging Dad's memory into it too. Dad had passed 4 years ago, a quiet heart attack on a rainy Tuesday. He'd always been the one who saw through Mara. He used to say, "She's got a gift for charm, Anna, and a curse for truth." And now she was staining even that. I couldn't let it go anymore. This wasn't about money. It was about respect. About the years I'd spent shrinking myself to keep the peace. So I called Reynolds Auto the next morning. "Hi, this is Anna Reynolds," I said, steady but nervous. "I just wanted to check on a recent purchase, a vehicle under the Reynolds plan." The man on the other end, Steve, my dad's old friend, hesitated. "Oh yeah. Mara, right? She said you helped with that." "Beautiful car." My chest tightened. She said, "What?" "That you co-signed," he said casually. "Said you wanted her to have reliable transportation for work." "Work?" My vision blurred. "She doesn't work," I whispered. Steve paused. "Anna, is everything okay?" No, nothing was okay. After I hung up, I just sat there. Hands trembling. Heart pounding. She'd forged my name. Again. I should have felt broken. Instead, I felt clear. That was the turning point. Sometimes clarity feels like revenge in its earliest form. Cold, silent, purposeful. I spent the next 2 days gathering everything. Not just from her, but about her. Old emails from landlords, screenshots of her fake payment promises, her social media timeline. timestamps matching transactions. It was all there. Proof. And the moment I realized how deep it went, I stopped calling it proof. I started calling it evidence. Mom called around that time. "Anna, have you talked to Mara?" she asked, voice tired. "She said you've been cold lately. What's going on between you two?" I almost laughed. "She forged my name, Mom, for a car." Silence, then, "You don't know that for sure." I gritted my teeth. She admitted it to her dealer. Mom sighed. "She probably didn't mean harm." "Maybe she just didn't mean harm." "Anna," she said softly, "you've always been the strong one. Don't stoop to her level." There it was again. Be the strong one. Be the good one. Be the responsible one. I'd spent my whole life carrying that title like armor. But now it felt like a chain. That night, I sat by my window, watching the streetlights shimmer through the rain. I thought about Dad, about the nights he'd stay up fixing things, the car, the pipes, the little leaks Mara caused when she lived with us. He'd always mutter, "You fix what you can. The rest, you let break." I finally understood what he meant, so I decided to let something break. Her. Over the next few weeks, I began to set things in motion, small, subtle. I called the dealership back, calmly explaining the situation. Steve was furious, not at me, but at her. "She forged it?" he said, voice sharp. "That's fraud, Anna. I didn't tell him to stop." I didn't tell him to go easy. I just said, "Do what you need to do," and he did. Within days, her car was repossessed. I found out from her social media, a frantic post. "OMG, someone stole my car. Can't trust anyone these days." I stared at the screen, the corners of my mouth curling upward. It wasn't joy, it was justice. But that was only the beginning. Because once people started talking, really talking, the facade began to crumble. Friends she'd borrowed from came forward. Landlords she'd ghosted reappeared. Her ex finally filed a police report for identity misuse, and all I did was let it happen. I didn't expose her. I didn't post a thing, I just stopped protecting her. Sometimes revenge isn't about striking back. It's about walking away and leaving the door open for karma. But even as everything around her began to unravel, part of me still ached, because I remembered the little girl she used to be. The one who'd sneak into my room at night during thunderstorms, whispering, "Can I sleep here?" The one who used to steal my cereal just to make me laugh. Where had that girl gone? Maybe she'd never existed. Maybe I just needed to believe she did. One evening, after another long shift, I got a call. Unknown number, I almost ignored it. But something made me answer. "Anna?" It was Mara. Her voice was shaky. Different. "They took my car," she said, sniffling. "You don't know what's happening." I closed my eyes. The silence stretched between us. Then I said quietly, "You know exactly what's happening." "Anna, please," she begged. "You have to help me. You always do." Those words, "you always do," not this time. "I can't," I said simply. She went quiet. Then her voice hardened. "You think you're better than me?" "No," I said. "Just done with you." The line went dead, and for the first time in years, I felt free. But freedom, I learned, has its own weight. You think revenge feels like triumph. It doesn't. It feels like exhaling after holding your breath too long. There's relief and emptiness, because now there was nothing left of us. No calls, no messages, no apologies, just silence. I thought that was the end of the story, that she'd finally disappear, and I could move on. But then one evening, a letter arrived, no return address, just my name, written in looping cursive I knew too well. Inside was a single line. "You'll regret this." The words blurred in my vision. I didn't know if it was a threat or a promise, but I knew one thing. It wasn't over. Not yet. I thought silence was safety, but silence can be a weapon too. After that letter arrived, I stopped sleeping. Every sound, The creak of my floorboards, the hum of the fridge, felt like a warning. I started checking the locks twice before bed. Then 3 times. I kept her letter in the drawer beside my bed. I didn't know why I hadn't thrown it away. Maybe I needed the reminder of who she'd become, or maybe of who I had. A week later, I came home to find my car door scratched. Deep, deliberate lines. Keys dragged across the paint, and on the windshield, a sticky note. Guess we're even now. My chest went cold. Even? She'd ruined my credit, stolen my peace, used my name. And this was her version of balance. I remember standing there, hands trembling, the night air biting my skin. That was the moment the last of my fear turned into something sharper. Resolve. I didn't go to the police. Not yet. People like Mara, they're experts at slipping through sympathy. She'd cry, say it was a misunderstanding, that she was struggling, and people would believe her. So, instead, I let her talk. I let her text mutual friends about how cold I'd become. I let her tell everyone I was jealous. And every time she lied, I took note. Every story, every inconsistency, I collected it, because I'd learned something important. The truth doesn't need to shout. It just needs time. Then I made my move. I sent an anonymous email to her workplace, a small boutique where she'd been bragging about being assistant manager. Attached were screenshots of her using company accounts to make personal purchases, receipts, dates, amounts, no signature, just facts. A week later, she was fired. I didn't stop there. I reached out to a few people she'd borrowed money from, the ones who'd given up hope of seeing it back. I gave them documentation, proof she'd never intended to repay them. Within days, small claims filings began stacking up in her name. She couldn't hide anymore. And I didn't feel guilty, not once. Because guilt is for people who care about the truth. And she never did. Then one night she called again. Her number flashed on my phone, blocked, then unblocked, like she couldn't decide whether to be brave or afraid. I answered. Her voice was frantic. "Why are you doing this to me?" I said nothing. "You think you're some kind of hero?" She snapped. "You're ruining my life." I took a breath. "No, Mara," I said. "You did that. I just stopped cleaning it up." For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she laughed, low, bitter. "You'll regret this," she whispered, and hung up. Regret. That word used to haunt me. I'd lived my whole life trying to avoid it, by saying yes, by forgiving, by staying quiet. But that night, I realized something. Regret isn't the enemy. It's the teacher, and I was done being the lesson. A month later, I heard she'd moved in with a new boyfriend, someone she'd met online. People said she was starting over. I didn't react. Didn't comment, because I knew something she didn't. The boyfriend? His sister worked with me at the hospital. I didn't tell her who I was. But when she mentioned her brother's new girl, I just listened. And when she told me Mara had used his credit card for a business expense, I smiled sadly. Some people never learn, but fate always does. A few weeks later, her boyfriend kicked her out. Rumor was, he caught her lying about a job offer that never existed. He posted about it, vague, angry words about users and liars. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate, I just felt done. Like I'd finally set down a weight I'd been carrying since childhood. The truth is, revenge isn't about making someone hurt. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself they stole. My peace. My voice. My power to say no. Each time she faced a consequence, I took another piece of myself back. And for the first time, I started living again. I redecorated my apartment. Bought myself a new car, small, practical mine. I even took a few days off work, something I hadn't done in years. Sometimes healing sounds like laughter. Sometimes it's just quiet. Mine was both, but still, every now and then I'd think of her. Wonder where she was. If she'd finally learned, or if she was out there starting over. Another city, another story, another victim. And then I'd remind myself, she wasn't my problem anymore. That was the real revenge. Not the repossessions. Not the lawsuits. Not even the truth coming out. It was walking away and meaning it. It's been 6 months since I last heard her voice. Sometimes I still expect a text. An apology. A threat. Something. But all I get is silence. And strangely, that silence feels like peace. I've learned that peace doesn't come with a grand ending. No swelling music. No cinematic closure. It's quieter than that. It's waking up without anxiety clawing at your chest. It's coming home to a place that finally feels safe. It's drinking your coffee and realizing no one is draining you anymore. That's what revenge really is. Not fury, not destruction, but freedom. I used to think strength meant forgiving over and over again. Now I know strength is walking away once and not looking back. Mara taught me that. In the cruelest way possible. And maybe that's okay. Because some lessons are only learned in the dark. She took $5.50 from me, but she gave me something worth far more: my spine, my voice, my peace. Sometimes on my late-night drives home from the hospital, I pass by the old dealership where her car once sat. The lot lights glint off the rows of metal, and I think about all the things I used to fix that weren't mine to fix. And then I just keep driving. No guilt. No hate, just distance. Because sometimes revenge isn't loud. It isn't a scream or a victory, it's a whisper. A deep breath. A door closing softly and locking for good. My name is Anna Reynolds. I paid the $5,750 bill my sister dumped on me, thinking it was the end. Turns out, it was the beginning of who I was meant to become. Thank you for listening. If you believe peace is the best revenge, leave A below and subscribe for more stories that heal even when they hurt.